Hi everybody and welcome back to Elle the Law Student. So today I thought that we would have a chat about mental health at university, and I've got Cade here.
Hello everyone, I am Cade.
So Cade is my boyfriend and he goes to University of Kingston and studies filmmaking.
I also have a YouTube channel.
Yeah, so you should go and have a look at that.
Do vlogs.
And also, if you want to hear a bit more about Cade's university experience, he has a video on his channel called Surviving Uni, which is kind of a good overview of what his first year at university was like. So I asked Cade here today because I thought it would be a good idea to have a male student on the channel, because I think it's really important to be talking about men's mental health. It doesn't get talked about enough, and so I thought it would be good to kind of have a view from both sides.
Yep.
So what did you think the hardest thing was about going to university?
Just being away from home, I think, and living on my own. I didn't really think it would be that difficult, but for me the sense of independence was great, but I did feel very isolated, and I think that really affected me, and that was probably the toughest thing.
Yeah. I think that when you go to university there's so much going on, and so I was trying to get on top of my work, I was trying to make new friends, I was trying to figure out where the supermarket was and the shops and just everything, and where I could keep my bike and the things I needed for my room. And so I think for me it was probably the sense of so many things going on, and I just put an enormous amount of pressure on myself when I arrived.
Yeah, you did.
So I think probably the fact that there were so many little changes that just amount to this big change.
Yeah.
So in terms of being away from home, what did you find was the best way to deal with that?
I just really tried to keep myself busy a lot first year. I signed up for the gym and got a limitless card, so I spent a lot of my time at the gym or at the cinema. But after a bit you kind of get stuck in a cycle, and that seems to be the only thing you do end up doing.
That can be just as unhealthy.
So, yeah, exactly. As well as obviously trying to see my friends that were there, and coming home and coming to see you whenever I could.
I think for me, the thing that I struggled with the most about not being at home was the fact that I didn't have a kitchen. Last year, I do this year, but last year I didn't have a kitchen, and I found it difficult because it meant that if I wanted to eat in hall I had to eat between 5:30 and 6:30, and so I found that quite an adjustment. And it's just the small things as well. You don't really realise how much of your time it takes to do your own laundry and just everything like that. Even if you sort of do it at home and help out, it's completely different when you're then on your own and you have to do every single tiny little thing that you don't even think about when you're living with your parents. But what I did was I tried to stick to a timetable. I still do it, so if I know that I need to do my laundry, I get it done on a certain day. So something that I've spoken on this channel before about is imposter syndrome. And I know that when you first went to university you kind of had this idea that everybody was better than you.
Yeah.
So how did you overcome that?
I think it was a mixture of meeting everyone on my course, realising they're not these super snobby people, and everyone's just so down to earth, made friends with a load of people, and doing all the modules as well. So I don't want to sound like arrogant or anything, but
Well, you came out of your first year with a really good grade,
so I came out with a 2-1, and right from the first module I got really positive feedback from all my tutors, and I was just kind of like, oh right, I am good enough to be here, I do deserve to be here.
How did you find making friends?
I would just talk to people in my class and just be like, is it okay if I sit with you at lunch, or what are you doing for lunch, is it okay if I come with, or are you at the same place I'm living at, why don't we meet up or something. It's just stuff like that, just little things. And also something that really helped was so in the first week they started this chat for our class, the WhatsApp chat, and everyone just talks through that, and it's kind of different talking online with people. You forget you don't really know these people, and you end up chatting with them in the chat, and you meet up in real life, and it's just that first icebreaker's gone because you've already talked to them, really.
Yeah, Yeah. I think for me, I was really worried about making friends, and I also thought that everybody would be really different to me.
Yeah.
And I have to say that I really did put myself out of my comfort zone in those first few days, because I thought, yeah, I want to go out there and meet all these people.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of put on a bit of fake confidence,
Yeah,
really,
exactly. That's the thing.
and
That's
just approach loads of people. And that was tricky, but it was a lot better. So I sort of asked that because I wanted to lead on to how have you found your friends, both you supporting them and then supporting you through different mental health issues?
Everyone's been really supportive just because everyone is like in the same boat. So even if you just say to someone, I've had a bad day or I'm feeling down, odds are that they won't be like, oh, get over yourself. They'll just be like, oh, it's okay, talk to me.
I always think it's so nice as well to ask if somebody wants to go and grab a coffee or ice cream, or if they just, even if everybody's super busy, if you just want to work together in a library.
Yeah.
I work in my kitchen most days now with other people in my staircase, and that's really nice, because as soon as one of us starts to get stressed, we'll just say, oh, this essay's driving me mad.
Yeah.
And then that's okay, we just kind of take a 2-minute break together, put the kettle on, and it makes such a massive difference. I think just actually saying that you're stressed about something, I think especially with work, if you're getting really stressed about a certain essay or something, saying that out loud can actually really help to trivialise it, because otherwise it seems like the biggest thing in your life, but
exactly.
if you actually think it through, it's not that big a deal. So going on to a slightly deeper level, what's been kind of the hardest part of your university life so far?
So in my first year in the winter, I would spend a lot of time indoors and a lot of time just watching Netflix or films or not really doing anything. Something that happens a lot with university students is sleeping pattern gets absolutely messed up, and it goes out the window basically. So I was going to sleep sort of like early hours, getting up late afternoon, and that added another layer onto it. And as well as not going out, you kind of don't realise the effect it's having on you until obviously like you've stayed inside for 3 days, and then you're like, oh, I don't want to do anything.
It can have such a massive impact when you've not had natural light as well, and not had fresh air. And
so I think that was probably the hardest part for me, and that was just because I felt isolated, really. It's really weird, like although I had sort of like 400 people living around me in this block of flats, I still kind of felt like I was on my own. And one way that I really dealt with that was just, like you say, talking to people and just going out with people, sort of, just even if it's just for like dinner or lunch or for a coffee or whatever, just talking to someone, spending time with actual human connections. Talking to university doctors, because they're very different. Although you don't think it, they are very different to your doctors back home. They understand really where you're coming from. They've seen it hundreds of times before.
they tend to deal with lots of students,
Exactly.
and that's the other thing. You might feel as though you're completely alone, that no one else feels like this and everybody else is having the time of their life.
Yeah.
But then when you actually speak to them, these feelings are so common when you go to university.
Yeah, exactly.
For me, my hardest term was my first term and my second term last year. I was getting really obsessive about my work. I was feeling really down and incredibly anxious, and I would feel so guilty whenever I wasn't working. It was just really crap, because I was kind of getting up in the morning, going to the library, maybe going to a lecture if there was one, going back to the library, then kind of leaving the library, going to bed, and it was just like a constant cycle. I was about to ask you how you kind of dealt with it, but you sort of covered that, yeah. So in terms of how I kind of overcame that, quite a few different ways. First of all, speaking to your tutors. So I spoke to my tutors, I think I mentioned this in another video, but I spoke to my tutors, and they were really helpful because they gave me kind of an accurate portrayal of how they thought I was doing and how they thought I would be performing in my exams that were coming up. I also went to the welfare officer, who's somebody who works in college, and They were really helpful. They suggested lots of different things, and I went to the university counselling service through that as well. And all of these resources are completely free, and that's something as well that I think at university is so good, the fact that I have personally found I've had far more access to free mental health resources. There's also a lot of support, and it's just about having the courage and the confidence to say, actually, I'm not okay.
So all universities have, obviously, the doctors, and all the doctors have drop-in sessions. With me, I went to the drop-in session and just mentioned how I was feeling. They were so understanding, not judgmental at all, and was just like, I think this, and something we can do to help you is we'll prescribe you medication.
Yeah, I do really think that universities do generally accept that this is quite a difficult time in your life. There is a lot of stress, contrary to popular belief, and there is help out there.
I think it's almost, before you come, it's almost glorified, the fact that university is the time of your life, it's when you make the friends that you have for life.
There's always so much pressure on you to have a good time,
exactly.
And then when you're not having a good time, you're
like,
thinking, why aren't I having a good time? And it's just a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Finally, kind of, I just thought, I thought we'd have a chat about stigma around mental health, maybe on a wider level, because I think that this is something that is really important to address, because I personally think that a lot of the reasons that people don't go and seek any kind of help is that there's a lot of misconceptions. Everybody has mental health, I think, so people kind of think of mental health as just being something that can be negative, but mental health is also something that can be really positive. Everybody has mental health. And so, you know, maybe you are going through a rough time, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you have a diagnosable mental health condition, but even so, it's really, really okay to go and seek help. And on the flip side, it's important to remember that diagnosable mental health conditions don't mean that you're kind of talking to voices in your head and sitting in a corner rocking. And you know, it's not as black and white as that.
Just add on to that with, there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with feeling that way if that's how you feel. It's alright.
There can be a lot of stigma around mental health medication as well, and for me, I always think it's really important to remember that it's whatever works for you. If you went to a doctor with a broken arm and they gave you some painkillers, then you would take the painkillers if that's what you wanted to do. And so I don't think there should be kind of this I think some people always see it as an admission of defeat or something.
Yeah, sort of. People are like, oh, if I need medication just to function, then they see it as a negative thing, where it's completely the opposite. It is there to help you, and it's there to help you throughout your day, whenever you need it, and it's not a bad thing, it's not an admission of defeat, it's not anything like that, it's just help.
Yeah, and I think it's actually, there's something really kind of powerful in saying, okay, I need some help.
Exactly, it's like, okay, so if you were playing football and one of your players got injured, you wouldn't keep them on, you'd sub them off for another player. And just because you sub them off for another player, it doesn't mean you're admitting defeat, it means you're getting the help you need.
I think it's important to just take time for yourself and your friends and pull yourself away from things completely. I found that cooking in an evening is the way that I do that.
Yeah.
You really like going to the cinema.
I do really like going to the
cinema.
Or the gym, yeah.
I feel like when you're exercising, because you're focusing on how you're feeling, it's almost a bit of a check-in with yourself, and you kind of get you.
And because you have, well, the way I always looked at it, I'm in the gym. I have control over what I'm doing. I have control over like every muscle, basically.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it maybe just helps with the anxiety and feeling out of control because you are in control.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. So, really, I think that the takeaway from this video of us kind of rambling about mental health is look after yourself, and there is no problem at all with actually just saying to your friends, your family, your tutors, welfare counsellor, people, I'm not okay, and can I have some help?
Basically.
I will see you next time.
Bye.